of the recently shut down startup. Being the ex-treasurer from IBM, I respected his opinion greatly. So I shared with him my plans on starting my own company. Chuck turned to me and said, "Bob, you need to drop this. It's impossible for you to start a company. You have no money, no investors, no customers. Grow up and take a real job at a big company." Feeling inspired, I then met with a seasoned engineer whom I worked with and respected and told him of my product plans. He looked at me and said, "Even if you had an investor, it's impossible for a small company to accomplish the development of a product like you have in mind." Feeling further inspired, I turned down the various job offers. I decided to follow my heart, follow my passion. Now was the perfect chance to take a risk and start my own company. Being young, I didn't have responsibilities weighing me down. I had nothing to lose. Don't always accept the conventional path, which is usually the easier one. Always push ahead and challenge the norm. Follow your heart, follow your passion for whatever you do. It certainly won't be easy at times, and do it while you're still young. In 1988, only 6 years after graduating from this school, I started Excel, bootstrapping it with no financial backing. At 27 years old, I wasn't unlike many young men and women, having failed to save much of my paycheck over the first 6 years of my work. Needless to say, I didn't have much money in the bank. In the 4 years that I worked at the startup, I didn't take a vacation. So when the investors were shutting down the company, they had to pay me my vacation pay. This amounted to a whopping $7,500. Not enough to live on, never mind start a company. Most of the equipment and computers that were at this company were leased, so when the company went out of business, everything was gone. In the 4 years that I had run the engineering there, the company only owned one piece of equipment, an oscilloscope. And I needed an oscilloscope to start my own company. The landlord was quite upset because he had just put an expensive addition onto the building. Due to this loss, the investors transferred all the assets of the building to the landlord. So I went up to the landlord and said, "I'd like to purchase that oscilloscope for $5,500. He looked at me and said, "I'll give you this whole building for $5,500. I want all the desks and chairs out of here in 1 week so I can rent the place." I accepted the challenge. I bought 60 desks and chairs, one oscilloscope, and a closet filled with unused electronic parts, microprocessors, resistors, capacitors. So with $2,000 left in my name and a bag of electronic parts, I rented a 300-square-foot attic above an auto body shop for $300 a month. Not a garage like the computer guys, an attic. Be different. I stuffed it with desks, chairs, benches, parts, and started looking for customers. After 1 year, I had a few small customers, but I was barely still in business. I had to park my car behind the auto body shop so the repo man wouldn't get it. I was living off credit cards, barely making the rent, and eating hot dogs every night for dinner. No buns, they were too expensive. Well, it's better to be lucky than smart sometimes, because that same year, deregulation of the telecommunications industry created a large opportunity for many startups. So my phone rang from a local company that I had earlier pitched my product ideas to. They were interested and wanted to meet me the next day. What they didn't know was the company consisted of one employee, me. So I called a friend of mine that used to work for the startup company. He was a bookkeeper. I said, "Nate, can you take tomorrow off from work? I need a CFO for the day." Real companies have CFOs. So the two of us, the next day, presented the business plan to our first potential large customer. The president of the company said, "Bob, we like your product plans. We will buy 4 of them. However, you must deliver them in 4 months for a trial at the phone company. But for every day you're late, we will charge you $1,000. However, if we pass the trial, we will buy 80 of these products next year for $2.8 million. I knew immediately that this was my only chance to make it. I had nothing to lose, so I accepted the deal and went back to the auto body shop. This was impossible to accomplish, I heard my former colleagues telling me. But when opportunity knocks, open the door. With no money to buy parts, I had to use the parts that I had purchased from the landlord. During the day, I would work alone trying to finish the design with the limited supplies at hand. At night, about a half a dozen engineers would show up from the previous company. I had no money to pay them. They worked on a promise that once the company was off the ground, they could come on board. Unfortunately, at night, they also painted cars in the auto body shop. I still love the smell of paint today. I look back on those times, although very challenging, as the most exciting, challenging, and creative part of my engineering career. There are those that look at an impossible challenge and say all the reasons why it can't be done. And then there are those that rise up and meet those challenges to make a difference. We delivered the 4 products on Thanksgiving weekend 3 weeks late. But after the penalty, we had no money left. We had no credit left. I reluctantly prepared to shut the company down and get a real job. The phone rang. Our customer was awarded the contract and was placing an order for 10 more systems. The old crew was hired and we were off and running. The following year, we sold $2.7 million of product with 6 employees. The next year, $4.7 million with 10 employees. Soon the company was doubling every year in size, selling equipment around the world in over 50 different countries. And yes, we eventually moved out of the attic above the auto body shop. After 10 years of growth and profitability, the company successfully completed an IPO in 1997. In 1999, the company was sold to Lucent Technologies. I'm proud to say the group is still in operation today and producing the same product 22 years later. Once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur. After the sale of the company, I took a few years off and found another passion in the world of automation. In 2005, I started my second company, trying to start the excitement again and continue to do the impossible. Follow your dreams. Follow your heart. The impossible is sometimes possible. Whether you become entrepreneurs, design engineers, support engineers, sales engineers, any type of engineer, with the right amount of passion, determination, and courage, everyone can succeed in all their endeavors. Forge ahead, the future is yours. And remember, when the storms roll in and things seem bleak, at least they're not shooting at us.
Thank you very much, Bob.